Hello, here is my gray box level for this week. Um, let's just dive right into the level. Go ahead and play it. So when you start the level, you'll see that there's a message from Dr. Madison. He's the mad scientist, part of the story. And he tells you that you're entering the heavily guarded AI factory. You have to beware of plasma based enemies, which are going to be weak to the electricity imbuement. And he also tells you that you have to find the two exosuit upgrades in order to proceed to the boss level, which is the objective of this prototype map. And when the player gets in, he'll quickly find out that you can't really do anything on this first level. You can't get up to, for example, that because you don't have the double jump yet. So you don't have double jump and you don't have slide. So it's really just basic movement at the beginning. And you also can't reach up here yet. So in order to proceed, you really have to go down. And the first direction the player wants to go, which won't be clear right from the jump, so they're going to have to explore and just kind of figure it out, is over here to the electricity imbuement, which will give the player double the attack against the plasma enemies. And you click the 1 key, or I think it was LB or L1 on the controller to switch imbuments. So you can see he has the blue sword now, which is electricity. You switch back, and that's no imbuement. And so we'll just keep the electricity on. And as you can see, I have this turret here, but he has a little bit of a glitchy um, animation to him, and I couldn't get the projectiles to fire in time. I just kind of ran out of time for this week, but that's something I will work out after this week. And I wanted to keep it in there so you could kind of see that the upward attack now has a much better use case for it. So you can jump up and hit these turrets and take them out. So that was something that was suggested in the reviews last week, and so I wanted to show that that is really the plan, is to have things up above the player that he'll have to jump up and hit. So now that I have the imbuement, you can see it only takes 2 hits to kill these enemies. Oh, and I also implemented the health potion system, and you can click 2 on the keyboard to switch between the 3 types of health potions, and each one of them has a different potency. So we'll go ahead and use one of these major health potions now to get my health up a little bit. And then when you go through these elevators here, they teleport you to different levels, different floors on the map. We're going down to the sub-basement floor now, and there will be some sort of indicator like next to the elevator to let the player know where it takes them. So once you get down to the basement level, you got a few guards to kill, and I do need to fine-tune and balance out the combat to make it challenging for the player and make it a little bit more fun. But that's something that I will work out in future iterations. So I also worked out fall damage, which is why I jumped onto all the ledges, because if you fell down from that height, you would take a lot of fall damage, which maybe I can show on my way back out. So the player makes their way down here through the basement, slaying all these enemies, and eventually reaching the double jump upgrade. So now you can see the player has the double jump, and I kind of like putting this little vertical little hallway, I guess you could call it, here to the player has to have the double jump to be able to make these jumps, and so it's a nice way for them to be able to test it out. So let's get full health. And so when you drop from height, you can see there's fall damage taken over here. So let's go back up. Oops. So then the player will make their way back up to the first level. And actually, something I forgot to mention was that when the player does drop down here, they'll notice that they're unable to get back up here with just one jump. So they'll be forced to explore down here to find their way back up. So now that we have the double jump, we can get up there. And we can go ahead on over here. And now we can also reach this ledge here to grab the leg armor increase, which increases armor by 1, which really, as of now, only decreases the damage dealt by the enemies by 1 point. And I'll work on and fine-tune that, depending on what I think will be good to create a challenge. And then once they can get up here, they'll notice that they can't get over here because they don't have the slide yet. So they'll have to go to the left and continue exploring and use the double jump to get to these new areas that they weren't able to access before. Let's go ahead and use another health potion. Oops. And get up here, and you can see this over here also is blocked off by a little wall that juts down from the ceiling. But there is the slide upgrade right here. So now the player has the ability to slide, which they couldn't do before. So they can go ahead and head up here and enter that elevator and reach this little treasure room up here, which has another piece of gear, the chest armor. So it increases the armor by another 1 point. And so now the player can make their way back to that little wall that they couldn't slide underneath before. And now they can get underneath that. Oh, that was kind of glitchy. Another thing I implemented was, let's try it with this guy. Someone else had suggested that it would be too easy to get behind the enemy. So I put a raycast 2D arrow behind him, so he'll turn around when you get close to him. So you can't just sneak in behind him and attack him without him noticing you. So once you get up here, oops, you have to jump onto all these platforms and finally make it to the boss room, which is the end of this level. So there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, or a couple more things actually. One was that I changed the jump velocities a little bit. So when you're standing on the ground, you jump pretty high, and then when you double jump, you just have a slight little boost. So it's not the same amount of jump velocity, and I changed that from the first iteration, the core mechanic proof, and I just thought it just felt better, and it also allowed me to build out the level. It was really when I was building out and testing the level that I decided on that, because I wanted the player to be able to jump a little bit higher initially, and then just have that slight boost to be able to get to these higher ledges. And then another thing that I discovered when testing was that when you go through the elevator, it's sudden. I would like there to be some sort of animation where it looks like the player stops and steps into the elevator or something like that, and then like the black screen fade in and fade out. And also I'd like to remove the player input, but I'll have to refactor my code or rewrite some of the code to do that, I discovered. Because when you go through it, you can just hold down right and he'll just continue to go back and forth. So I want to fix that and really just balance out the combat, and also work on these turrets, and additionally add some more obstacles for the player to have to deal with as they're going through, like maybe some like lava type of things on the floor, or like spikes on the floor that they'll have to jump over or navigate while simultaneously fighting the enemies. And one thing I thought of too was to decrease the attack from both the enemies and the player, so that the player will have to deal with the enemies over a longer period, like a longer time to kill, so that they will have to kind of maneuver around, and maybe add sections where there's multiple enemies who will fight the player at once, so the player will have to deal with multiple enemies at once. So those are kind of the takeaways from playtesting it, and yeah, I think that about covers everything. Let me check my notes really quickly. Oh, I also wanted to kind of expand on the level, make it more maze-like, add some dead ends and more area to explore. Maybe add a slide timer so the player can't just spam the slide. Yeah, and I think that pretty much covers everything. So thank you for watching.